What is up, party people? What's going down? Hey, sometimes you have to sell a house, you know? We're going to talk a little bit about probate today. Whether we like it or not, most of us are going to deal with this at some point in our lives. A lost loved one or a situation where real estate is related to the courts, and it does not have to be a complete nightmare, especially when oftentimes we're already mourning, dealing with some heavy emotional stuff. Not the most fun topic to start a show with, but most of us at some point are going to be touched by this, and we're going to get into it today, kind of how to navigate that. And one of the things we uniquely do that turns a fairly cruddy real estate situation almost always into an incredibly beneficial real estate situation. So we're going to get into probate and a bunch more as we make our way through the show today. Holler at us if you've got questions about your life in real estate. That's 214-310-0008. You can call or text us, Courtney. People can just text 214
so easy
310-0008. If you have never called or texted,
wouldn't that be fun?
If you've never thought about, that's a resource for me, you should just save this phone number in your phone. And anytime you need real estate help, we're not always on air. As a matter of fact, we do this show once a week, but we are always helping people buy and sell real estate. And you can use that phone number throughout the week, throughout the day. And we'll get back to you and help you find a roofer, plumber, electrician, buy a house, sell a house.
I mean, we do this for you, so you might as well just text me.
Do it all for you. 214-310-0008.
Yeah, we're actually only on air for 1 hour a week.
That's true. Well,
167 hours we're not.
We're only on this live real estate show for
right
now, but there are YouTube videos, podcasts,
it's everywhere,
social stuff. I feel like I'm in front of this microphone a good bit.
You are.
You know?
Quite a bit.
This week.
Just spreading the Todd.
This week a lot. You know, some might say too much. Ian, what do you have?
Too much?
Nope, that's not.
Oh, that's not what you're. Oh, okay. My
doing.
bad. Patrick Gleros. How about that?
That's great.
This first segment is brought to you by Patrick Gleros and his team at ABC Bank. The entire team are phenomenal. Reach out to Patrick. You can start an application directly on his website if you're looking to get a mortgage, refinance. If you just have questions, reach out to Patrick. PatrickGleros.com, Glaros, PatrickGleros.com, 972-386-1231, NMLS number 308804. Or if you forget any of the people we talk about, just head over to ToddTremontiTeam.com and click on that radio tab.
Now, I was in Scottsdale recently with my lady.
Sounds chilly.
It wasn't chilly, but I got to be honest, this is not a show about the weather, but it wasn't brutally hot. It was pretty nice. It was hot enough to be by the pool, but not miserably hot. So I think we kind of timed early summer just right. We might be the last people in Scottsdale that didn't roast. It was great. My point is to say, I was texting with Patrick on a minor work thing while we were gone. Nailed it. Knew we were on vacation. Didn't waste a lot of time. Didn't need to spend a bunch of time talking. Just boom, basic information. Here's what you need. And that's what you get with Patrick and his team at ABC.
You know, I did the same thing.
You did?
I texted him for advice for a friend, attached her. I mean, it just, all these people, we all want to help you.
I texted him to see what the current interest rates were. No, I heard your doubt in your O.
Yeah, I did too.
But I asked him, like, hey, what's going on with interest rates today?
It felt very patronizing. Oh, I texted him too.
That was like when one of your kids has a story and then a younger one has to also have a story, you know? It was like, Ian was like, oh, I texted him too on something more important than yours was.
We're going to get breakfast.
What's the interest rate?
I mean, when the day I texted him, it was 6.5-ish.
Okay, we don't hate it. Staying strong.
Do you hate this? That was a legendary DFW radio segment, by the way. Do you hate this? Yes. Anyway, okay. So Patrick's awesome. PatrickGleros.com. I'm really glad we all got in on the Patrick love.
Yeah.
I'm glad we're talking about probate today.
It's real. Are you? Why?
Well,
I like it. By the way, most people hate it.
I think it just hits people. It's something that almost everyone encounters.
Yeah.
And my neighbors are going through it, and she set them up perfectly. Like she had everything situated. And so I just thought
her deceased family member.
Correct.
Yeah.
The woman who passed away had all her kids set up, like everything. They didn't have to fool with anything. And so I thought they weren't going to have to go through this.
Yeah.
And I was happy for them and like whatever. Well, they do. Yeah. So I'm like, finding myself thinking, what is probate? Why? Like, why do you have to do it? I don't really.
Yeah, I think that's a really important question because I don't want to assume that everybody knows what probate is. So what is probate?
Yeah, the universal general safe definition of probate is it is a legal process of transferring the ownership of a property when someone has, let's just say, lost their life. Now, there are some nuances when it could be someone who's no longer able to, mentally, intellectually handle their own assets and properties. So it's being transferred. But generally speaking, if not pretty much every single time, it's when someone's passed away and that property is now being ownership's being transferred. Now, I don't know the situation you're talking about, Courtney, but it can be completely, if not almost completely, avoided with really skillful estate planning. But people are going to go through some sort of legal transfer. Sometimes it's painfully long and complex when there's not preparation done ahead of time. Other times there can still be disputes about it, even if it was really well documented. Other times it was planned well, everybody's been updated and everyone knows exactly what's going to happen, and there's very, very minimal delay or process.
Is it possible to avoid it?
Why? I'm not an attorney, so I'm not going to say no to you, but in a non-attorney answer, pretty much yes. You can skip a lot of the trying to define and discern and understand what's happening, but it will still have to be sort of approved through the courts. Now, I'm not an attorney, so I'm going to be careful to give like an absolute 100% answer there, because even in my own estate planning, things change. We come back and revisit some of that a year or two later, and it's like, hey, some of the tax laws or some of the property rights laws or some of the, our state's doing that a little differently than the state where the property is owned. So there's some nuance to this. So there's almost always a process of making sure everything gets done the way it was intended to be done. And if there was no planning or prep, then all bets are off and it could be a really brutal process. But for most people's definition, it's that legal process of transferring property from a deceased person to someone else. Not always family, not always children, but it's transferring that property when somebody's passed away.
Is there a reason why in my old age, I'm 95.
Okay.
Why do I wait for that to be dealt with upon my passing?
You shouldn't. I mean, there's no should deal reason, with it before. There's no reason except for that, right or wrong. Lots of people don't know.
I understand unexpected.
Lots of people don't care.
Okay.
Lots of people don't think about it. Many people just think of themselves as like, I don't have a bunch of assets to will to my family members. I have my house and my fixed income. And
sure.
Even the house can become really burdensome to heirs or can be fought over and break up families. It can be a really ugly, messy thing. So I don't make any money doing this. I don't have any expertise on this, but I would certainly encourage anybody with any assets to seek even some very simple and affordable estate planning so that the process of dealing with real estate and other assets, especially in the probate process, is minimized and prepared for as well as humanly possible.
So how do people get taken advantage of in this process?
Well, there's a couple of ways to look at it. So the person that's passed away often, is not getting taken advantage of. They're gone.
They're gone.
That's sad, right? But it's ugly because oftentimes you have people really upset with their deceased parent because they didn't prepare. And now you've lost your parent and you've got this bitterness, or now I'm pitted against my siblings or against my husband's ex-wife kind of deal, or all of a sudden my niece or nephew is fighting me for something, and this could have been avoided. Now, sometimes it can't be avoided. Sometimes like mom and dad did everything they could have done and there's just a ugliness in some family member or whatever. But we're not going to get into all that. For the sake of today, we have a friend and a client that many of us have used. I'm not here to promote them, but he's been on the show before, Andrew Gore. His information's on our website. If you don't use him, use somebody. Plan ahead. And a lot of times when people die young, that's when this is really bad. They're like, oh, I didn't need to do that yet.
Sure.
I'm not old. People die young sometimes. It's sad, but you don't want to put that on your kids. You want to prepare, and sometimes you want to protect taxation and stuff like that. So that's a lot of talk about non-real estate parts of this, but that's what it is.
Well, it sounds like It's a very emotional process. And I think buying and selling a home is very emotional. And there's a lot of reasons why you have to do it. And I don't know. That is one thing I really love about our team, because there is just this care for your family.
Yeah. And that's where I would say we do love it. We don't love that people lose family members, but we love to be able to be more than just a real estate contracts helper. We like to be, help people prepare for this. We like to help people bless their families with what they leave, or be blessed and have fond memories of parents or aunts, uncles, whatever, when they take these things on. Oftentimes we are helping minimize the drama. And it's sad, but a reality that oftentimes these homes that are being left through the probate process are not recently updated, beautiful, rocking and rolling, top of the market properties. They're fine, or sometimes they're not all that well maintained, that in their latter years, families didn't or couldn't or wouldn't. Sadly, sometimes you have family across the country that didn't know that the property wasn't quite as well maintained, and now they're kind of sad that what their parents or family were living in, or whatever that kind of deal is. We usually come in later in that process to help solve some of those issues, and we have helped people in what they thought was, no, we're just going to have to give this thing away. It's in pretty rough shape. We've been able to come in and go, no. We have a very unique approach to this type of property, and we're going to help you get $100,000 more than you ever thought. So now you do need to talk to siblings and other heirs about there's more benefit here than you thought. Or, we can still help you sell it and maximize your investment without flying across the country and remodeling and updating. There's a lot we can do for people in that probate process, whether they're local or not, whether they planned ahead or not. We're being brought in more than we used to by someone who says, look, I'm not going to be around a lot longer. I want to leave this well for others. What should I do with the real estate piece of this? We have been put in wills where people have been told you have to use the Todd Tremonti home selling team to sell it if you choose to sell it. Or you have to sell it and you have to use these people, and then the proceeds will be divided this way. So, that's always really humbling when someone trusts us to protect their heirs in that way. But it's not a fun process because there's usually some real sadness. The fun part is being able to help people navigate that well, maximize their investment, minimize the frustration and the drama. And honestly, the properties are often a bit of a challenge where it's like, okay, this isn't a typical one. We get to flex our marketing muscle and be creative. And we have a really great track record of selling these properties at honestly way higher prices than people typically expect.
So once everything's gone through the court system and the court says, yes, you're good to be able to go sell it, nothing else is really different, correct?
Not like from a contract or process perspective, but from a how did some decisions get made process? Yes, it can be different. So for example, let's just say we're all brothers and sisters here, right? So there's three of us, and now we have a property from mom and dad. Sometimes it's like, okay, the house has gone through probate. We know that we all get a third, and it's going to us.
Oh, I negotiated for 60-20-20.
Yeah, but
classic.
But now what happens is we have to figure out how to make a really major decision together, and often that's the hardest part.
Got it. Because
Courtney's got a friend from college that's a real estate agent, and you think all real estate agents are idiots and losers, and we shouldn't hire one. And I think there's this great team in my market, around the corner that is actually really great, and I really think it's best to use them. They're not the cheapest, but they're going to get the most money. They're going to honor mom and dad the best. They're going to keep all three of us from having to do a lot of it, and now we have to learn to work together. And what happens is there's this bias that Courtney knows her person, so she wants her person to get the deal. I trust my person, so I want them to get the deal. You don't trust or like any real estate agents, so there's just, how do we do that?
Well, we've seen that even in non-probate times, right, when there's multiple
parties
siblings
involved,
or parties, and that is challenging.
It is, especially when you add the emotion of a lost loved one. And look, right or wrong, all three of these people have a different relationship with their parents or with finances or their own current life stage. So these things we have been able, in almost every single scenario in 20-something years, been able to come in and say, how do we serve you, yes, with your real estate, but in a way that as much as possible, this is a blessing to you and your relationships and your family. And gosh, even when it's been really hard, we've really enjoyed the impact we've been able to have on the backside of that.
All right, I've got one probate question to ask you. I think it's going to be a little bit of a stumper for you here, Todd.
Cool.
We'll see. But before that, let me tell you about DP Lambert and Goosehead Insurance. Him and his team is who you need to reach out to for your auto insurance, for your home insurance. If you haven't done that recently, do so. You can email DP, dp.lambert, Lambert, at goosehead.com, dp.lambert at goosehead.com. You can give him a call, 214-614-8595. Or like I said before, just go to toddtramoniteam.com, click on the radio tab for all of our recommended pros and vendors. Okay.
Hold on. Before you answer that, I just realized I didn't fully answer Courtney's question. She said people get taken advantage of a lot. The primary way people get taken advantage of in this situation that I've seen is they don't understand the current value of the home. And so they sell it for way less because they think it's in horrible shape, or it hasn't been updated, or it's not well maintained, or they haven't been there in years, or there's just a lot of assumptions. The other thing, and this is a lot more rare, but sometimes the only asset, the only real value left in the estate, meaning mom and or dad, the only thing they left of any value is the house. And so the attorney and other parties that had to be involved need to get paid out of the proceeds from the house. So there's these other voices in the process urging, get it done quick, hurry up, just go with this person kind of thing. And so people can get a bad agent, get a bad appraisal, get a bad inspector, do work they didn't need to do, or not do work that they should have done, and then sell for less or pay too many fees and things like that. So that's where it's not just about real estate. It's about people you can trust across the board, the attorney, the real estate agent, possibly any other debts that are owed, understanding those things and things like that. So
you just mentioned that not everybody knows the value of their house, and boy, am I glad you said that, Todd, because if you go over to toddtramoniteam.com and you click on the Home Valuations tab, in less than 1 minute, you can find out what your home is worth, what it would rent for, maybe what your cash equity is. It's got a whole plethora of things you can do in there, Courtney. toddtramoniteam.com, Home Valuation tab, in less than 60 seconds, you can get all your info so that you know what your home is worth. Okay, my question. Ready?
Okay. Yep.
Okay. Hypothetically speaking, if a homeowner was to leave their property to their, let's call it their cat,
Hypothetically.
and they pass away, not the cat, the people pass away, so now the cat owns the house. How does the house get sold?
I don't even know what you're talking about. This isn't that weird. We've done this more than once.
Right.
Courtney's giving us a look like she's convinced we're making this up. We are in fact not
making this up, Courtney.
The love people have for their animals.
This was maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
It's real, and I'll just say the cat one was the funniest one because we, on our thriving social media profile, did a April Fool's joke. The joke was not that the cat was selling the house.
Oh.
The joke was that like someone let the cat out or something like that. But the point is this, believe it or not, there is
anything's possible.
There's, let me say it this way. There's an appointed trustee for the cat, and that person has to act in the cat's best interest and also get all the money. So that's sort of how that one worked out.
Cat's going to be living it up.
There was a second one that was in some ways more bizarre, but people leave homes to all sorts of things and groups, organizations, ministries, people, random things. And there's always a way. It is not always clear. So oftentimes, as a real estate company that works really well with probate attorneys and clients and heirs, we are helping navigate the probate periphery. So the probate, like, okay, the court says we can sell now, but also we need to know who are we talking to. We're not talking to the cat. We're not only talking to the granddaughter. We're talking to all these people. And which documentation is, there's such thing as like an affidavit of heirship and all. There's some other documents that are different in these situations, but you do need a real estate agent that knows what all that is, and we do at the Todd Tremonti Home Selling Team.
I like to imagine that the cat ordered the finest string from like Dubai in order to be able to chase it. Like, he just didn't want regular string. What's like the finest string?
Are you finished?
Yeah.
Okay, give us a call, 214-310-0008. 214-310-0008. There's also some probate information on the website at toddtremonteteam.com, but your best bet is to just call or text or jump email, whatever you like on the website. 214-310-0008. We can talk you through what that process looks like. We can help you understand timing. We can help translate some things from the attorneys and help minimize the drama, maximize the financial reward, and really the legacy of whoever's leaving that property. 214-310-0008.
Todd,
Fire when ready.
Todd.
Yep.
It's the top of June, so there's still tons of time to enjoy our summer fun guide.
Yeah, you're not late yet, but you're getting
You're
close.
not late. This is
close.
prime time. And, part of why we love people is that we value families and we want you to enjoy your home and we want you to enjoy your family. And that is a huge heart.
What's your favorite spread in the summer fun guide right now for families? It doesn't have to be just today. What's your favorite one?
Well, I wanted to talk about what I wrote.
Of course.
Because
Classic.
I know. It's just about free things to do around the city. And I tried to highlight some things.
Full price Courtney broke character and brought as an act of service to all of DFW. And
maybe some
gorgeous
things
spread on page 22 of the Summer Fun Guide
that you take for granted because, we've got the Stockyards Cattle Drive in Fort Worth that happens twice a day, every day. And I'm like, my kids have never seen that. We've lived here for a decade.
Yeah.
Like, it would be fun to go down there and let them see that and eat a taco and enjoy the water gardens that are down there and let them splash around and get some ice cream at Melt.
Take them to Billy Bob's.
We could, a little line dancing.
Probably.
Love that.
Probably not.
Another one is our museums. I can't tell you how much I take for granted
You're
that
a
we
Perot
have.
girl, aren't you?
No, I'm more of a DMAer.
Oh, that makes sense.
But they
because
have a new
DMA,
exhibit at Perot.
Dallas Museum of Art, right?
Yes, Dallas Museum of Art.
How do you
free
feel about the
activities.
contemporary art museum? I don't understand it.
I went to one art museum recently and I was confused.
Why don't you just open your heart?
Tell you what, we were in Scottsdale and every single door was an art gallery.
That's it.
That's
Not your favorite.
I'm not blaming them. I don't fully appreciate it. But Courtney wrote a full spread on some really fun, cheap, mostly air conditioned, some free, no, all free things that you can do this summer in DFW. If you don't have a summer fun guide yet, what are you doing with your life? Go to the website, toddtremonteteam.com. There's a banner across the top. You can get one absolutely free. If you're a friend, family member, advocate, past client, you should already have a print version. If you want one of the very few last print versions, give us a call, 214-310-0008. If you don't have a home warranty, I'm going to tell you about Trinity Home Advisors. They do home warranty a little different. Like, they actually really care for the consumer. They're going to make sure you take care of your home so that your home warranty claims actually get taken care of for you. They have a different approach in the sense that they care for the homeowner. They help you maintain the home. They help you understand your coverage, and they help you get taken care of when you need to file a claim. It's not an insurance claim. It's a warranty claim. But a lot of warranty claims get canceled. They get denied because of maintenance. So they actually help you through the cool use of some really cool AI technology, some reminders, maintain your home better, not need the warranty because things don't break as much. But when they do, make sure that you do get taken care of so you're totally compliant. So check them out, trinityhomeadvisors.com, trinityhomeadvisors.com. If you forget that, do what you do on all the other stuff. Just go to toddtremonteteam.com, click that radio tab. We'll be right back after news, traffic, and weather. And don't forget, we're going to talk a little bit about home values. Have home values dipped in DFW? We'll talk about it right after this.
And now your host, real estate broker, consultant, and best-selling author, Todd Tremonte.
How about that intro? How about that bumper audio? Ian, thoughts?
The word incredible comes to mind.
It came to the front of the mind, tip of the tongue. Well done, Courtney.
Oh, that was Courtney?
I didn't want you to know at first, but yes.
I have a new word.
I don't want to brag, but Amy Grant once told me she loved my speaking voice.
Yeah.
And when I tell you I wrote that compliment on my heart forever,
And that take of Courtney doing that only took about 48 takes.
You hit it on your heart that you might not. It feels like blasphemy. Yeah. That's blasphemy. Hey, by the way, you did want to brag. That's why you asked me to unmute your microphone. But that's okay.
I did want to brag.
It's sort of the tone of the show.
Has Amy Grant told you she likes your voice?
You know, she didn't say that.
Okay.
Yeah. Or anything else.
Who's Amy Grant?
Oh,
get out of here. That's, what are you, 12?
Who's Amy Grant?
The voice of an angel.
Are you for real?
Yeah.
Oh, one of the most prolific singers of our time. Oh. Like changed Christian music as you know it. Oh. An icon.
Good for her.
Keep going because it's worth it. Most of what Ian says with his crazy interruptions is not worth the time on the show, but this feels totally
Kennedy Honors winner, written.
I haven't heard of that.
Okay.
Baby.
Nope.
But not
El Shaddai.
Oh, baby. Not that one. Okay.
Britney Spears.
I knew you were going to know that one because your music taste is terrible. All right. By the way, I was re-listening to a recent coaching call where I played Under Pressure. We do some music trivia with our coaching clients, and I played Under Pressure, which Ian obviously got because it's classic from a great band. But he was dumbfounded that anyone would guess that it was Ice Ice Baby. And I'm like, Ian, that was obviously my whole point, was to trick people into saying Ice Ice Baby. And he was like, why would anyone do that? And I was like, because there's generations that don't celebrate Queen every day.
Should.
Now, this is DFW Real Estate Weekly, and we do usually talk about residential real estate. We didn't there for a bit, and we don't apologize for it. Ian?
Yes, sir.
Who has brought this segment to the people?
That would be my friend Patrick Gleros, the man I'm going to get lunch with soon, and his team with ABC Bank.
Let him go.
Yep. They're phenomenal. Look, they just are. I've worked with Patrick multiple times. Todd has only ever worked with Patrick. So many of our clients, friends, family members. If you are looking to get a mortgage, if you are looking to refinance, if you have questions, just reach out to Patrick, patrickgleros.com, 972-386-1231, and MLS number 308-804. He really can help you and answer questions for you, and you can start an application directly on that website, patrickgleros.com.
That's right. Any mortgage-related needs, just go to patrickgleros.com. It really is that simple. Now, there's a question that's been brewing on this show for, I'd say, 4 months. It's a topic we talked about for over a decade. But Courtney's been more than normal jabbing at us. Now, you've also been very kind in your support of us because the topic is, do real estate agents just always tell buyers to buy?
Courtney says yes.
Yes, but she also has appreciated the nuance with which we've communicated and actually been publicly thankful. I could go back and find the recordings if I must, about the fact that we do that as we advocate for DFW buyers and sellers. That's why we do this show. And we're like, hey, this is not just because agents want a commission. Sometimes
I have
it is.
Personally seen this team say it's not a good time for you.
But what we're saying is that you could almost always just say, buy now, don't wait, because statistically that's almost always been wise. But Ian wanted to carry the ones and sum the numbers and bring it all over 2A squared, I think. And he did.
I'm here for the people, Todd, and I'm here to bring the most accurate and relevant information always.
Yeah. He went back to the lab.
I did some cooking.
Okay, go ahead.
I found 2 sections in time where it has not been a great time to be a seller in real estate. And I'd like to tell you about those.
Okay.
We have the 1980s oil bust is what we'll call it. We'll call that from kind of 1986 to 1990.
To be clear, in the past on the show, I've always referred to that as the savings and loan bust, which was directly correlated. So same time period. Go ahead.
Yep. And then the second one is more recently was what is sometimes known as the Great Recession of 2007 to 2009, and house prices, especially in that 08, 09 time frame. DFW wasn't hit as hard as a lot of people, but it was still hit. And we saw over a sustained, 12 plus month period where home prices were falling. They were not worth as much tomorrow as they were worth today.
Yes. Agreed. Period. End of statement. Now give me like 1 second to take a deep breath before I redefine everything you just said.
1 second, go ahead. I would like to say thank you for your kind words.
Appreciate you. Appreciate you appreciating my appreciation of your hard work in the laboratory. Courtney, thanks for standing by. Okay, here's what I've got. Okay, late 80s, no doubt about it. That was like nationally a really brutal time. Interest rates were at near all-time highs for a lot of people, for a lot of things. They were absolutely at all-time highs. Inflation was a deal. The Federal Reserve couldn't figure it out. Ultimately did some really, really, really hard things, made some tough decisions to sort of correct things, which ultimately did somewhat correct. That's a period where you heard your parents or grandparents talking about paying double-digit interest rates, but the complainers will still complain that they did it at home values that were like relative to income levels still like an eighth of what they are now. So that's that. That's very different. Savings and loan industry, which is basically like local credit union saving type institutions, caved. A lot of that had to do with oil futures, oil companies, especially in our region.
I was going to say, especially in North Texas, just Texas as a whole.
Texas as a whole. The region of oil drilling, oil refining, like the whole Houston area had a massive number of oil companies and refineries that took really, 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 really big hits. I was young, but I remember the effects of that. I remember my first savings account having a 7% plus rate on just pure savings, which was it was really the middle of that. Okay, all that to say, that's very, very different in DFW than the so-called Great Recession or economic crisis of the 2007, 8, 9-ish period. And I say ish because different parts of our community and different parts of the economy participated in that period a little differently. Stocks, bonds, mortgage rates, borrowing, building, and all that were, some of these things were leading indicators. Some of them were a little bit lagging and came later. But in North Texas, that one is misleading. Way in the late 80s, it was pretty widespread. Kind of everybody got hit pretty hard.
Yep.
In 7, 8, 9, even though the math would say that DFW home values dipped in the ballpark of 4, 5, 6%,
yep,
they didn't all. They were really large but unique pockets that got hit really hard. And it's not this simple, but it would be a somewhat fair overgeneralization to say that was mostly new construction areas. So imagine this scenario, Courtney. The times are booming. Interest rates are relatively low, not like recent low, but they're 5, 6, 7% for a while. Sixes were really attractive then, but people were borrowing money pretty cheaply. They were maximizing the borrowing because it had been a good market for a long time. There was not a lot of fiscal discipline. People were able to get a loan without verifying their job or their income. It was just like, hey, that's how much I'm going to tell you I make, and I can make the payment. I can now get a 100% mortgage. So I want to buy a $400,000 house. The payment, because rates are pretty good, is going to be $20-something $100. I'll make the payment. I can make the payment. So the bank was then saying, great, as long as you're pretty much willing to commit, we'll get you the loan. And you can go get multiple of these loans. Okay. So now I'm stretching into a brand new house that's at the very top of what I can afford. I've bought it, and within months, major financial institutions start to fail. The stock market starts to go crazy. Lending really, really, really tightens up. Now there are not a lot of buyers for those houses. The market kind of goes flat, but it's not like a lot of homes just all of a sudden were worth way less. But all of a sudden there was enough of homes like that or situations like that where because of financing and other factors, people had stretched to get into homes. Then some of those people were losing jobs. Incomes were actually going down instead of up. They weren't able to keep those homes. We had a big run of foreclosures and short sales. A short sale is like instead of the bank taking the property back, they allow you to sell it short of what you owe on it. And so now we're seeing those values dip a bit. Not like the whole market is just worth less and no one's willing to pay it and all that, but a lot more homes on the market, homes that really aren't worth as much because they're not brand new anymore, but they were only brand new a year or two ago. And now that person can't really afford that payment anymore. A lot of them bought with adjustable rate mortgages so they could afford the payment at the top end of their budget at 5.99, but now it's adjusted to 6.85 and they cannot afford that anymore. So there were some kind of somewhat artificial pressure on certain pockets, geographically speaking or price point speaking, that knocked those back a pretty good chunk. But a lot of people in DFW and a lot of neighborhoods saw their property value just kind of sit flat from like late 2007 to mid 2009, and then just very slowly start to recover in late 9 and 10 and 11. And then we had a pretty good run from 12 to like 19. We saw some stabilizing in 19, and then we saw the COVID boom. And then we've seen some stabilizing since. So that's kind of the history since those two things. But the reason I went into all that is because those two supposedly sustained pricing slips or downturns were very different. The late 80s was pretty much everyone in the state felt that. The 7, 8, 9, everyone felt it economically, but from a real estate perspective, most people's property values didn't dip and most people's mortgage payments didn't change. But a lot of people who had just very recently transacted or overbought a little bit, and those were in some specific pockets, that data averaged out over the whole market looks like a sustained dip. And by sustained, we're talking like a year and a half, maybe. Some of those pockets were down and back up within 6 months. Some of them were down for a couple of years-ish, a point or two or three for a couple of years. There were other areas that were still really desirable and slowly were climbing. So on average, we were down 3, 4, 5% over a couple of years. But a lot of people did not experience that way. So that's where averages can be really misleading. But those are really the only two times in modern history, in most people's lifetime, the DFW home values were down really at all. In the late 80s, it was a 2 to 5 year period, depending on where and how that affected you. And in the Great Recession, it was like a 1.5 to 2.5 year period for a lot of people. You could go recreate that negative value experience right now. If you go to a new construction community, wildly overbuy, use an adjustable rate mortgage, you could find yourself in the same spot. But enough people did widespread that felt like a really ugly period. But even then, can you imagine if you were like, oh, the market's terrible, I'm going to wait and buy? Most people didn't wait and then take action in the next year and a half or two.
Right.
They waited until there was some recovery, and then there was no real benefit to them. And if you had bought in the beginning of it and it had dipped a little bit more, you had already made all that up within a couple of years.
For sure.
And the rates dipped afterwards as part of the recovery, and a lot of people waited until they had crept back up again before another really big rate dip, not value dip. So anyway, that's enough numbers talk. But I always think it's important for our friends and our clients, of course, and certainly our audience, to know the nuance of those things. But those are the two periods and the only two periods in modern history, meaning the last 50, 60 years, most people's real estate lifetime. You could be 80 years old right now, and your real estate timeline is probably the last 60. And those are about the only two times where you, in theory, if you had timed it perfectly, could have done well. If you were like late 06, 07, early 07, you're like, nah, I'm just going to wait. And you nailed it like early 08, you won. That benefited you. But very, very, very few people time those things perfectly. Because you know what else people were feeling in 08? I don't know if I'm going to have a job. I don't know if these home values are going to go way, 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 way down. So in crisis, people that were waiting tend to still not take action, which is why it's almost universally true that the best time to buy is today if you and your family and your finances are ready. That doesn't mean you should. That doesn't mean everybody should. It doesn't mean it's always ideal. But timing things like that is virtually impossible. And I've just begun to say in the last decade or so, it's just really not wise. Because even the people that want to time it, when the hard times come that create supposedly more affordable real estate, most of the other economic and lifestyle factors would put you in a spot to not take advantage of it. You're worried about your savings. You're worried about your job. You're worried about rates. You're worried about inventory, all that stuff. So,
just to let you know, I'm going to take a little time away from the lab now.
Okay.
Just a little
Stepping
time away.
out of the lab.
Stepping out of the
away
lab.
from the data.
I'm excited to talk about something which is getting people pretty excited over in the southwest Fort Worth side of town. It's known as the Maverick Golf Club.
Boy, does this sound... Look, I'm not like a big golfer, but I like golf course communities a lot. I like the beauty. I like the cleanliness. I do like to be out on a golf course just because I tend to be I like trees and plants and things. I like hanging out with the guys. So I'm an okay golfer. But the point is, this is not your normal golf course.
No, the company that is doing this has built incredible communities and courses all over the world.
Yep.
And we have one right here in North Texas already, but this one looks really special.
Okay, let's talk about this bad boy. We're talking about, what's the name of the community? Maverick, right?
Correct.
Okay. And this is Southwest Fort Worth.
Yep.
Right? Okay. Private, gated, and when you look this up online, don't, by the way. If you're even likely to be tempted and you shouldn't, don't look it up because you're going to want to. This is just right outside of Benbrook, before you get to Aledo. So west of Fort Worth, but not that far out of town. You could totally commute from here if it is in fact within your budget to spend about 1.7 on a house that feels like it's inside maybe the most incredible golf resort in America.
I think prices start at 1.7, right?
Yeah, that's a
to
entry
reserve
point.
Your lot.
Entry
basically.
point. Yeah, that's the beginning of this process. Now, I'm not one to throw money like that around, but I think it's worth it from what I can tell. Okay, so you're talking 3 golf courses, right? What's that? 54 holes?
No, there's a 18, a 12, and a 9.
So you got different options, right?
Yeah.
So you got 39 holes ish. You can play par 3, but you've got lots of different options. Obviously a golf community, but I can totally see people wanting to live here that aren't big time golfers just because of the beauty and the amenities of this thing, right? So they're calling themselves the pride of Fort Worth already, even though this thing's not fully, it's not fully maxed out yet.
The opening line on the site is, "Welcome, a sanctuary of endless possibilities." Oh,
yeah. Hey, sell
incredible.
it. Sell it. But what you're talking about here is a mix of incredible luxury and rustic Fort Worth feel, right? So it's got a cowboy vibe, but also a very high-end lifestyle, dining, entertainment, not just golf type situation. Right. So there's word on the street, and I don't think we're supposed to disclose any names here, right, Ian?
Correct.
Word on the street is that there's some pretty incredible athletes, musicians, actors, entrepreneur, investor, business owner types that have already purchased lots.
Think of a famous athlete. They've probably bought a lot.
Ooh, that's a broad statement right there. So there's some very well-known names we've been told by, inside sources that we're apparently not supposed to disclose openly on the radio.
Can't disclose our sources
yet.
All the people.
But the company's called Discovery Land Company. So if you look them up, pretty generic name, but some of their communities, especially in the Austin area, I've got some family and some friends down there that have played one of these courses, and they can confirm that it is a pretty unique experience. This is a very rare golf experience. They've got Driftwood Golf. They've got Vaquero near Westlake, a couple others that I'm less familiar with, but that are pretty spectacular. They develop all over the country, but these Austin ones, I think, have a bit of the same vibe that this Fort Worth one is going to have. Now, this one's going to have a very Fort Worth country western kind of high-end cowboy situation going on. But it's pretty incredible. So let's talk a little bit more specifically about this Maverick specifically, Ian. We're talking about 1,000 homes. Is that right?
That sounds accurate.
From 400 to 800 for the homes, but the lots are kind of a separate package.
Correct.
So what I'm talking about, I think this is for most folks, $1 million+ deal easy. Fort Worth ISD, but a brand new Fort Worth ISD elementary school for that area, opened a couple years ago. So there's some established infrastructure there. And then what's the Blue Jack deal? I know that you know a little bit more about that than me, Ian, the Blue Jack golf course out there.
Yeah, so that's Tiger Woods' kind of golf course community that he built. Not him.
It's not done yet, right?
People. It is not fully done yet.
That one's really close to this one.
Correct.
So they're not the same thing, but they're 5, 6, 7 miles apart from each other. So if you're an enthusiast and you like high-end golf or golf communities, that whole Southwest Fort Worth or West Fort Worth region is really blowing up, I think is the right term to use here, because there's already some great stuff out there. And then you have two absolutely incredible ones coming in. So Maverick is going to be incredible. Nearby, you have Blue Jack, which people just like drool over the experience of playing that course or courses like that. And there's still a ton of available land. So when you think West Fort Worth all the way out to Weatherford is beyond that is where I'm like, okay, that's not Fort Worth-ish anymore. But everything in between there, which all of this is this incredible high-end, gorgeous, luxury golf, lifestyle, ranchette, homes on land dream scenario. Go ahead.
So to just give an idea of size-wise, Blue Jack, which is the other one, is built over 914 acres.
Golly.
So, yeah.
And there's still a bunch of available land.
Oh, yeah.
Development. Go ahead, Courtney.
I was just going to say, I was surprised, like looking at the map, like how accessible it still is. Still like so many things. It's not as like out.
Yeah. I sound like a crazy person when I say things like, that's not as far away as it used to be.
No.
The city hasn't moved.
Yeah.
Aledo hasn't moved. Benbrook hasn't moved. Weatherford hasn't moved. Walsh Ranch hasn't moved. But the highways have been developed. As the population grows and more infrastructure comes in, especially on these highway routes, you can get there faster. So that's what we mean when we say it's a lot closer than it used to be. Your commute time, you could live, if you're so fortunate to live at this new Maverick development and be downtown within a very reasonable commute, under 30 minutes, almost, unless you just had really bad traffic that day, right? Blue Jack, I think, will be similar. It's a little bit further south, so as far as I understand it. So you'll figure all that out if you are their target audience. But if not, just know that West Fort Worth area, there's some really exciting things happening. It is going to bring more people. It's going to bring more industry. It's going to bring more jobs. Lots going on. Want to pause for a second and talk again about Trinity Home Advisors, trinityhomeadvisors.com. This is a home warranty company, but they're doing home warranty very differently. Did you know that your dishwasher has a filter?
I'm not going to lie to you. I do now, but the first time you asked me, I had no clue whatsoever.
So that's just one example about how Trinity Home Advisors is going to help you get more value out of your home warranty. They're going to remind you of things like, hey, by the way, your dishwasher has a filter and it should be cleaned every month. Most of them shouldn't need to be replaced, but it should be cleaned every month. And if you clean it every month and then it breaks and you call the home warranty company out, you call Trinity Home Advisors and they come out and they go, hey, yep, there's a problem here, then they're going to fix it for you. But if they come out, or any home warranty comes out, and they're like, hey, this filter looks like it's never been cleaned, and that's why your dishwasher is busted, we can't replace that for you because you didn't maintain it well. This is kind of the game a lot of home warranty companies play, is that they give coverage and then they can deny a lot of coverage. That's not how Trinity operates. They want to cover it. They want to take great care of their clients. And so they're going to help you maintain your entire home better with some really cool technology and a little bit better communication. So check them out, trinityhomeadvisors.com. That's trinityhomeadvisors.com. All the other pros we talked to here on the show, you can find them online. Just go to toddtremonti.team.com. That's toddtremonti.team.com. Click the radio tab. You'll find Republic Title on there, Patrick Glaros, Trinity Home Advisors, and some other folks that we might interview on the show or that we might feel have some value to offer you. Go to toddtremonti.team.com, click that radio tab. If you have questions about your real estate, reach out to us, 214-310-0000. Check out your home value, all homes for sale in DFW online, and all sorts of other great real estate information like a cash offer on your house right now online at toddtremonti.team.com.